Austin. Cool.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's masterclass. We're thrilled to have you here. Programs and courses remain one of the most popular topics amongst our community of health and wellness professionals. So really excited to have you here today to learn about how to have a professional online coaching program working one-on-one or in a group. So this masterclass is going to especially resonate with you if you are a licensed or regulated professional. Lori's Fusion method makes online programs and courses a possibility for everyone. There's lots of questions and considerations, where to prioritize your time, your money, your energy. Maybe you felt like there's too much red tape around running a program or course. Maybe you haven't been sure about how to cover your bases legally or what content you're allowed to actually share and use, or, things like whether you should be incorporating functional testing into your program. So there's obviously so many considerations, like I said, but we are going to dive in and cover that all in the next 90 minutes, as well as so much more. I do want to cover off a few housekeeping items since we are live. Firstly, we are recording this session, so if you need to revisit it or step away early, no problem. We will be sharing the replay and kind of all the bonuses and links shared with you all. Your questions and engagements, like Lori said, are highly encouraged, so make sure that you use that chat box to get the most out of today's masterclass. So I want to kind of try that out with you all. Please head to the chat and share your excitement for today's session with Lori. If you're excited about learning about programs and courses today, I want to see it in the chat so we have all of that positive energy welcoming Lori in. I'll also be hanging out in the chat throughout the masterclass today, answering as many questions as I can just to help support. So I will be kind of answering questions as we go along. And as I mentioned, this masterclass is scheduled for 90 minutes. So Lori has tailored the next hour and a half to cover a lot of content. So I'm going to quickly introduce, and then I'll let Lori take it away. So Lori, like many of us, is first and foremost a parent who wanted to do business differently and step outside the box with how she worked with clients and earned an income. And as a former practitioner herself, she developed a method that allowed her to do just that, while really recognizing the potential that we all have as health and wellness professionals and how we can take action and capitalize on that potential with the right business strategies and the right tools. So Lori has created the Wellness Business Hub and started the Empowered Entrepreneur podcast. In fact, our CEO, Natalie, was recently featured on one of those episodes, so you should go and check that out, give it a listen. But notably today, Lori also founded the Fusion method, and that's what we're going to be learning about over the next 90 minutes. So welcome, Lori. We are so thrilled to have you here for this live Practice Better Masterclass.
Thank you for having me. And I see some of my clients are on here as well. So hello to everybody. I'm really excited to be here. I'm actually just going to spotlight myself. Maybe I can't do that. Britt, can you do? There we go. Thank you. I'm actually going to leave my camera on as well so that you can, I feel like that's just a little bit more of an intimate setting between you and I talk quite quickly. I also want to make sure that there's time for questions. The content that I'm about to teach you is going to bring up a lot of questions because I'm introducing a new practice model to you. So just let the questions flow. If I'm not able to get to all the questions, I can go through the chat sort of text stream after and make sure that everybody has what they need. And so if you need to jump off, this is being recorded. Otherwise, let's rock and roll. I am going to share my screen. I do have some slides. And as I said, I'm going to, hold on one second. I'm also going to shut Slack off. Otherwise, it's going to disrupt my brain. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know in the chat that you can see my face. Hello, and that you can hear me and that you can see my slides. One thing about me is I require external validation. So I'm going to need you to participate because I already know this stuff. And so I'm going to be prompting you. So just keep that chat box open. Thank you, Martha and Sabrina and Ron for letting me know. Chrissy, Rebecca, Valerie, Natalie, Kelly. Okay, perfect. So Irene, Terry, thank you. I see all of you. So thank you for letting me know that I am good to go. Hey, Kathleen. So this is, there we go. Okay, much better. This is the fusion method, and I teach this specifically for licensed and regulated professionals. We've worked with hundreds of them inside of Zero to Clients. And even if you are a practitioner and you're not licensed or not you're not regulated, or you're a coach, also not licensed and regulated, this is still very applicable. What I found over the years is that a lot of practitioners and coaches still want to offer one-to-one sessions. Some of you are obviously required to do so as per your regulations, but there are a lot of practitioners who want to have an online program and don't want to lose out on that level of personalization. And so they're stuck because they don't know how to put it all together. Type yes in the chat if that's you, where you would love to be able to have some type of online program, free up your time, have some things more automated, but you just actually don't know, like, how do you put it all together, right? How do you put it all together? Okay, so I see a lot of you saying yes. Okay, fab. So that's what we're going to do in this workshop. So turn off all distractions, be present here. Like I said, I have a lot to tell you. I speak quite quickly. And this is being recorded in case you miss anything that I say and you want to go back and listen after. So today's agenda, we're going to go through 3 considerations, and then I'll give you some exact next steps to take so that you don't leave here feeling like you just drank from a fire hose. Consideration number 1, the not so obvious secret to online practice growth. Consideration number 2, the 4 elements to include in an online program. And then consideration number 3 are 4 different flexible practice scenarios. And that's really where I'm going to walk through the different ways that you can really streamline and simplify what it is that you do. And the best part about it is that we use Practice Better inside of our own program. So inside of Zero to Clients, which is the program that I offer, we recommend Practice Better as one of the tech tools that you would need. And so I can give some examples as I go through this as well, in terms of how you can make this work using Practice Better. So for those of you who don't know who I am, and this is our first time interacting in this way, hello, it's really nice to meet you. I am Lori Kennedy. I am the CEO and the founder of the Wellness Business Hub, which now works with thousands and thousands of practitioners and coaches from all over the world, in every possible professional designation that you can think of. And before that, I was a personal trainer, and then I became a nutritionist. And so fun fact about me is I've never had a corporate job. I've worked in the alternative health and coaching industry my entire adult life since I was 19 years old. And I love this industry. Like, I love coaching. I love this industry. I would go to bat for any alternative health practitioner or coach because it's what got me here. You know, I think for a lot of us, we all have a history that got us here, you know, whether that was because you had a health condition or a mental health condition or an obsession or a family member that you wanted to help. But, you know, what I've come to learn about us as an industry is that we are here cumulatively to transform lives. Type me in the chat if you are here because you went through something or you wanted to, you knew that you could contribute to transforming lives, right? Where you went to school because you saw an alternative to mainstream medical, whatever, right? Therapy, coaching, whatever it is, right? Yeah. So you're all saying, Ramona's saying yes, Angie's saying yes, Trinette, yeah, Valeria, Heather, yeah. And so that was really my journey was, I was a personal trainer. I had horrible, horrible, horrible digestive system issues. I went to every doctor under the sun. I had every test that you could possibly think of from every hole in my body. Well, not every, but almost every hole in my body. And I was told everything was fine. And I was 23 years old and I was ill. And so then I went to see a naturopathic doctor, and turns out I had horrible, horrible leaky gut and candida, and my nervous system was a disaster. And I don't need to explain any of that to you. And I worked with her for a year. I was 23 years old. I was away at university, and I followed that thing 100%, the protocol for a year to heal. And that's when I was like, okay, all right, I can heal my body. Cool. Let's go learn about this now. And then I went back to school to become a registered holistic nutritionist. I really wanted to become a naturopath, but I have, I think, a little bit of PTSD about math and science from when I was in grade 9. So that was out. So the next best thing that didn't require all of the science and all of the math was becoming a registered holistic nutritionist. And so that's what I did. I became an RHN, and I struggled. After I graduated, I struggled. I struggled for 2 years. And it wasn't until I actually stepped outside of the traditional practice box. We're taught how to practice the same way. You have, an hour-long session or 90 minutes, and I'll go into that in a little bit, but I stepped outside of the traditional practice box. This was in 2009. And I created my very first signature program, and I called it Wow Weight Loss. And the reason that I called it Wow Weight Loss is because what do you say to somebody when they've lost weight? You go, wow, you look so good. And so that is what I did. And it very quickly grew. I was, starting groups left, right, and center. I was having people enroll into it all the time. I was working out of a gym. He asked me to expand in all the gyms. I had it in his 4 gyms, and then I had it in 5 other gyms. And then I was licensing it to, fitness coaches and nutritionists and NDs all across Canada. And so my peers started coming to me and saying, what are you doing? How are you doing this? And so I started to teach them, and I didn't mean for it to turn into the Wellness Business Hub. I didn't mean for, me, teaching how to create a signature program literally like almost 11 years later, and I'm still here. Because clearly there's still a lot more work to be done, because your practice model hasn't changed, even though we're now in 2023, and it should. So that's a little bit about me. That's what makes me credible to give this masterclass to you. We've worked with hundreds and hundreds of licensed and regulated professionals from Australia, New Zealand, California, all over the US, all over Canada. So I'm very well equipped to speak to the red tape and frustrations that y'all experience. So that is enough about me. I already know this stuff. I am here for you, but I wanted to just give you a little insight in case we had never met before. And you're like, what makes you credible to be talking to me about this? All of that makes me credible. So why are we even talking about this? We are talking about this because the old practice model, the practice model that you are taught, the practice model that I was taught, it's broken. It's broken for so many reasons. And please don't mistake what I'm saying in that one-to-one is not valuable. It is absolutely valuable, but the way that we are taught is broken. It's actually not helpful for the client or the patient, and it is certainly not helpful for you. And so the way that we were all taught, and it's funny because it literally hasn't changed since I was in school in 2007, is you were taught the practice model is individual sessions on a per fee basis. They're 60 to 90 minutes, and then you have follow-up sessions, and it's a transaction. It's a transaction. And so, the person, the patient, the client is coming into you, and they are paying you for a dedicated amount of time. Type yes in the chat if that's true for you, if that's how you were taught. Maybe you were taught to sell a bundle of sessions, but in essence, you're transacting time, your time for their money, and it feels like a transaction, right? Okay, so Heather's saying yes, Ron is saying yes, Luann is saying yes, Carrie's saying 100%, Lynn is saying yes. Okay, so it's a one-off, and again, maybe there's follow-ups, but even still, they're paying for 30 minutes, right? They're like, it's 29 minutes, right? We still have a minute left. I want to get my money's worth, and that's what they're paying for. And so it's this very transactional way of operating. And so you're supposed to be reactive to them in the moment. You're supposed to, be a know-it-all of all things. And you have to sort of give them enough to be able for them to do it on their own, because, and this is the really broken part, because once they leave your office or the Zoom meeting or whatever platform you're using to run virtual sessions, once they leave that, there is no structure in place for any type of accountability, support, community, or coaching. None. There's no structure in place because it's not built in. So as I was saying, there's no structure. There's no structure that follows. Hold on. Let me just actually make sure that I'm on the right slide. There we go. Okay. So as I was saying, there's no structure outside of that timed session, right? So type true if that's true for you, where you have to answer the emails, you have to follow up, you have to hold them accountable, but there's no system, there's no actual structure in place for you to do that. And so it becomes exhausting for you. And honestly, pretty unfair for the client or the patient, because they don't know what to expect. They have their own expectations in their mind of how they think that you should be and your level of availability to them. It does not, you have a different level of expectation, because in your mind, you're like, you're not paying for this. I'm not being paid here, right? And so there's a mismatch in expectation. You become frustrated. And if you've been doing this for any length of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're still new, then you might not feel this way yet. But if you've been doing this for any length of time, then you get it. Because I remember those days where I didn't have any sort of formal structure in place after they would leave. And so there's no formal structure, right? There's no formal structure. You're also competing on price. You're competing on price because, when you're selling a service, it's easy to compare versus an outcome, right? When you're selling 60 minutes or 90 minutes or testing or whatever it is, people are competing like as if it's like a haircut, right? Well, a haircut from a junior stylist is usually $45. So why is your 65? Like, what makes you better, right? And that doesn't really feel good when you're like, but I can help. Like, what? We're talking about like your health here. We're going to squabble over $10. And so you're competing on price, you're trading time for money. And at the end of the day, especially if you're really busy, your clients don't get the best of you because you just don't have enough time, right? You don't have enough hours in the day, because when you leave your practice, whether that's a physical clinic or your virtual clinic, you go home and you don't want to deal with that anymore, right? You just want to be home and be with your family and be with your loved ones. And so at the end of the day, it's like this cycle that you can't seem to get out of. And so when I was experiencing that, that's one of the reasons that I created that signature program so long ago, was because I had a baby and I didn't want to miss bedtime. And I saw the writing on the wall. When you're a service provider, you have to be available at your clients' or patients' off hours. So that means, from 4:00 onward, weekend mornings, yes, some early mornings, some daytime hours, but at least my experience is that everybody wanted to come see me after 4:00, after 5:00. And so that just wasn't going to work for me. And so I had to figure out, the best way to be able to give the level of results that I really wanted to provide, and not just, the actual result, but an experience. I wanted my clients to have this beautiful experience with me where I transformed them and they knew it, where I could reliably get those results for people. And I couldn't do that if I was constantly having this revolving door of random people with random problems coming in through my office door, so to speak. And so the way that I combated that was creating a signature program, which I later took online, but also through these considerations that I'm going to walk through with you now. And so, yeah, exactly, Mandy, right? It is. They don't get the best of you. And that's not fair to anybody. Like, that's certainly not why you went into this. So consideration number one, specialized, scalable systems with in-person trust. And so when we think about moving online, actually, what I would love to know from you, if you all are already online in any capacity, like if you're doing virtual care or you have some type of like digital offering, just type online in the chat. I would love to know sort of the mixture. Okay, good. So a bunch of you. Fab. Amazing. Love that. Okay, great. So when you move online, it's a little bit different than when you are in a clinical setting. It functions differently. So this is what I'm about to share with you is specific to online, although it would definitely help your clinical practice as well. When you move online and you have an online program, that online program is created to solve one specific problem for one type of person, because you want to sort of attract all of the people that have that specific problem, put them into your world. I like to reference a duck pond, right? So you want I call them purple ducks. You want all your purple ducks coming to you because you are the leader of the purple ducks. All the purple ducks coming to you, they're sitting in your duck pond. You do not want a duck pond with some pelicans, some pigeons, a hawk, a parakeet, a blue jay, right? Each one of those birds should be sitting in its own duck pond. So your duck pond is filled with purple ducks because they have the problem you can solve. Does that make sense? Type yes in the chat if that makes sense, right? You can help anyone and everyone in your clinical practice, but when we move online, because of the way that online is, we have to get focused and we have to get specific so that you are speaking about one specific problem, and then all of the people, all of the birds, all of the purple ducks that have that problem flock to you and they sit in your duck pond and they look up at you and they go, can you help me? Can you help me? I have that problem. Like, that's me. You're talking about me, right? And so we need to really know, in order to have a level of trust and intimacy, we need to understand what their problem is, how they feel about it, the devastation that it's causing, and then you get to demonstrate your expertise and show them how you're going to help them get rid of it. And so you're just going to keep saying the same things over and over and over again, and you're going to keep demonstrating that you understand their problem, you validate how they feel about it, and you're going to demonstrate through content, through webinars just like this, that you have a solution for them. And the reason that you are repeating it over and over again is because there's always new purple ducks coming into your pond. Some ducks leave because they're no longer interested. Some ducks become clients, and you're constantly bringing new ducks in to fill your pond, right? And so you're going to be providing relevant information to them over and over and over again, because they need to hear it multiple times in order for them to know you and like you and trust you and look to you as the expert that can help them with their specific problem. You're not just a naturopath. You're not just a massage therapist. You're not just a functional medicine practitioner. You are a functional medicine practitioner that specializes, that has a level of expertise in this one specific problem that, you know, your audience has, and therefore they're going to want to work with you. Does that resonate with you? Does that make sense to you? Type yes in the chat if that makes sense. It's how we streamline, right? It's how we work smarter, not harder, versus, you know, trying to help all the birds, right? We're gonna burn out if we try and help all the birds. You can't do that. And that's not fun. And you probably don't even want to. And so the question becomes, and I know that this is something that a lot of practitioners and coaches, especially if you have experience, struggle with, because you're like, I can help them with I can help them with a lot of things, right? And so I want you to tell me in the chat, what's one specific problem that your online program, don't worry about one-on-one and how much and this and that, just, we're not going to go there yet. Tell me in the chat, what is the problem that you can help people solve? Okay, Rebecca says, yes, I like this. Adult female acne. Leah says burnout prevention and recovery. Robin says learning how to meal plan. Yep. Mandy says PTSD and trauma recovery. Yep. Metabolic health. Kelly says exhaustion. Katrina, disordered eating. Cora, eczema. Lakia, please tell me if I mispronounce your name and correct me. PCOS. Brenda says hormonal imbalance. Dr. Rupa, women over 50 who want to lose belly fat. Yes. Okay. So you're all getting this. Amazing. I love it. I'm so here for it. Laura says RBS, women with low back pain. Okay. Fabulous. So that is your area of specialization. So when somebody says to you, what do you do? You're going to say, oh, I work with women who are pre-diabetic. It's clean. It's simple. You're not going to say, well, I'm a functional nutritionist, naturopathic life coach doctor who has 32 years of experience. You're not going to do that, right? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. All they want to know is, can you fix my problem? Because I have this problem. Can you fix it? Are you sure you can fix it? Because if you're sure that you can fix it, I'm in, right? That's all anybody cares about. And so we don't have to go on with the, long list. If people are interested, they will ask, but I would love for you moving forward to introduce yourself when somebody says, oh, what do you do? Instead of saying, oh, I'm a naturopathic doctor, for example. I would love for you to say, I specialize in working with women over 35 to support their thyroid. Like, that's such a better, as a naturopathic doctor, like that's such a better introduction. So I would love for you to be able to, use that. Absolutely. And you know what? Some patients, client definitely care about your credentials specific to helping them, right? They want to know that you are credentialed to help them with their specific problem. It's not just like a general thing. And they probably wouldn't care if they didn't think you couldn't help them, right? So we're not going to lead with that. We're going to lead with, I can help you solving your problem. So this is the sentence. I specialize in working with people who have, because that is, whoop, I'm just going to not touch my mouse. This is the sentence. And because we're talking about moving online, that's the sentence we lead with. Because if you lead with, I'm a naturopathic doctor, it's general, it's generic. They still don't know if you can help them. We're wasting time, right? I don't want you to waste time. So in all of the places that people could possibly learn about you, I want you to give them an opportunity to self-identify. Can this person help me with my specific problem or not? It's really important, right? It's really important to sort of lead with, I specialize in working with people who, right? And then that way they can continue to learn more about you, but they need to know right off the hop if you can actually help them, right? If you can actually help them. So it's a really important thing, because people just want to know that you can help them. And they're not here to buy naturopathic services. They're not here to buy you as a functional medicine practitioner. They are here because they believe that your skills and your education as a functional medicine practitioner can solve their painful problem. Does that make sense? Type yes in the chat if that makes sense. They don't want to buy you, right? They don't want to buy you. So let's just skip all of that and be like, yeah, I can help you. This is who I work with, right? And so now we're getting right to it, and we're almost like bypassing that superficiality piece, and we're getting right to the trust and right to the intimacy, which does matter. And the other reason is because this is how people use the internet. They are searching for solutions to their painful problem. That's what they're searching for, right? They're typing in, right? Suffering from anxiety, motherhood, how to get rid of IBS naturally, how to lose the weight quickly, right? ADHD and gluten, supplements and eczema. I saw some of you do eczema there, right? Brain fog and aging. That's what they're typing in. And so you, as the professional, and your program and your offerings need to pop up, right? They need to pop up. And so that's why I start this masterclass with that consideration, because we have to lead with the problem that they have, not necessarily with our credentials, right? Because a lot of people get it wrong and they do it the other way. And so these are just some of the professionals that we've worked with over the years. And I'm giving you these examples because they're all licensed and they're all regulated, and you can immediately go to their Instagram bios and know exactly what they do and who they work with, right? Immediately. And it's really important when we're talking about getting clients and getting patients and growing online so that we can free up a lot of our time, right? This is one of the strategies to be able to do that, and to be able to fill the online program, to be able to fill those one-to-one sessions with ease. And so I wanted to just give you some of these examples. You know, Dr. Kelsey Duncan, she's a naturopathic doctor. She's the founder of the Fertility Confidence Method. Natalie is a pharmacist, and she helps women naturally reset their metabolism, right? You can't see it, but ADHD support and creator of the I don't know what's wrong with my mouse. Creator of the ADHD support and parenting method. And so it's really important to recognize, you know, Dr. Danielle Watson, the mother doctor, right? Preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum. So even though as a naturopath, she's trained to help all the people, right? She recognized that that's a lose-lose situation when you move online. And so she went and specialized. And that's what I want for you. And it's going to make it so much easier when you go and you create those online programs and we fuse together different offerings so that you don't have 17 different things. You have one main offering that we then add these things into, and it's so much easier to grow it because you have the systems in place and you're just funneling all the people there, and it's super streamlined and it's really easy. This is Tiffany. She's also a naturopathic doctor. She specializes in working with people with eczema. And she says, I went from not knowing about being online to building a program, enrolling people, 7 people in it since, and working with my ideal client privately, right? And so you go as a naturopathic doctor, for example, to not knowing a thing, to then figuring it all out and being able to, you know, move online and see patients online. And then I got this screenshot from her when she had her baby, and she had her highest revenue month the same month she had her baby. So if you're working in that transactional way, that's not possible because you only get paid when you physically show up. So this fusion method, the way that I'm going to teach you, is actually going to give you the flexibility and the freedom that you desire. So that's consideration number 1. In order for your clients and your patients to feel safe and feel validated and feel like, yes, this person, this stranger, because you don't have the energy of sitting in front of each other, right, can help me, we have to get specific and we have to streamline. And you're going to specialize in working in a specific area, and you're going to demonstrate that you can help them and put all those purple ducks into a pond. So now you have all of those purple ducks in the pond, and they're looking up at you and like, what you got for me? How can you help me? And so this is consideration number 2, is actually having the fusion method, fusing online systems with one-to-one care, right? To create this really flexible and freedom-based online offering. So, who here has an online program? Type me in the chat if you actually have an online program. Okay, fabulous. You're building one and zero to clients. Amazing. Love that. Cool. Okay. I'm going to explain this in parts. So, in order for you to offer the level of support and the level of care that you desire, at the base of everything that you do online is an online program. One online program that is created, designed to solve that specific problem that your ideal client, that your purple duck has. One program. Okay. And we're creating it based off of foundational things that purple duck would need to know and do. It's not an in-depth thing. It's foundational content that all of your clients should be doing. And until they have the foundations in place, they really shouldn't be diving deeper. Okay. And so when we think about what you're going to offer online, you're going to offer your online program. So what's an online program? Well, an online program includes these 4 things. Okay. Number 1, after somebody purchases, what happens? You need to onboard them. You need to have a very supportive, loving, hypey, excited onboarding process, because they've just now signed on with you and they're scared, they're nervous. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, yes, let me overhaul my entire lifestyle. I'm so excited. Nobody does that. So they're begrudgingly doing it because they're in pain and they want to get better, but it's hard and they know it, right? Most people know that creating this type of change is difficult to some degree. And so after they complete the purchase with you, you're going to onboard them. And so what that looks like is sending a dedicated welcome email, welcoming them, hyping them up, getting them super excited, and laying out the entire itinerary for how they are going to work with you during your dedicated 8 or 12 week or 16 week program, whatever that looks like for you, so that they feel completely supported, so that they feel taken care of, so that they're not having to look through their email for 5 different things where the link to this and the link to that and the form to do this and the thing to do that. It's all in one place because you're a professional and your job is to teach them that life can be simple and that creating change is not hard. And you've thought through all of the experience that they're going to have. And so you've outlined it for them in this really easy to follow email that we call this onboarding process. And so you are onboarding them so that they have expectations set correctly from the start. They know exactly what to do next. There's no guessing, there's no frustration, there's no angst. And you're also including access to your platform so that they can log in, create their account, they can log in, and they can on demand start going through your content hub and start consuming your program content, where they're going to get a welcome module, and then they're going to get module 1, and they're going to start to actually take action. They don't necessarily have to wait until an intake unless they do, in which case you would explain that to them, right? You're literally explaining to them exactly how they are supposed to move through your program. Either way, they still get access to the content hub. Whether they can start or not is dependent on the way that you need them to move through the program. Does that make sense so far? Type yes in the chat, right? Does that make sense? Okay, fab. So part of what they're paying for is this experience. And I think sometimes we forget that, right? Part of what is going to get you word of mouth, part of what is going to help your business blow up is this word of mouth experience, to be like, it was a phenomenal experience, right? Everything was easy. Everything was smooth. I had everything I needed. And so they're logging into the Better platform and they're getting whatever content you want them to get at the beginning. And so you are thinking through this systematically in the sense that if they have to wait to meet with you, what are they going to do in the meantime? Right? And so we're thinking these things through so that they have the best experience from the minute their credit card is charged, right? They're not having to wait. And so inside of Better, you have all of these options to design this experience for them. And so also in this onboarding, if they were to purchase supplements, if they were to purchase testing, if you wanted them to do anything, this is where you would instruct them to do that. And so everything is laid out very clearly, very beautifully, and they're on their way. And so in onboarding, they're getting the links to whatever intake forms, whatever, supplements, whatever you want them to buy. And they're also being instructed to create their Content Hub account. And they're starting to go through your signature protocol, which is your pre-recorded lessons, your pre-made handouts that is all stored in the Practice Better platform that you can then give to them at whatever duration you want them to be going through the program. It's all automated. It's all set up for you. So at the core of what we're doing online, it's having that program. So if you don't have that program yet, I would say that that would be one of the things that you should be focusing on creating so that you can create the systems that I'm going to talk about and give yourself a level of flexibility and freedom that you will not ever have if you continue to just sell those 60-minute of time sessions. So the other things that your clients or patients are paying for as part of working with you in this offering are client supports, patient support, and accountability and community. So when somebody is paying you to enroll in your IBS Begone system and to work with you for the next 12 or 16 weeks, they're paying for the experience, they're paying for access to the protocol, they're paying for the coaching, they're paying for the accountability, they're paying for the support. It is a offering, right? It is a full offering. Type yes if that makes sense to you, versus them just paying for 60 minutes. Right? So it's a full offering. Okay. So at the core, right, your base offer is this program. Now we get to the really fun stuff where you can start to add in, you can start to fuse together different methods of care. So this is Jillian. She's a social worker. She's heavily, heavily regulated. And she says, I literally sold 3 programs today, 2 earlier in the week and 2 the week before that. She's a social worker, right? She's a social worker who sat in a room and had people come in on the hour, every hour, 5 days a week. That's exhausting, right? There's no way she can bring her best self to those people who, client number 7 does not get the best Jillian, right? It's just true. It's just true that way. And so we want to make sure that at the core, we have that program, right? We have the onboarding, we have the program. Now we get to decide how to fuse these things together to create different enrollment offers, right? So without the base program, right? Without onboarding and that base protocol, you can't do this. So we have to do that first. And now let's talk about what this looks like. So I'll share what I did. So when I had Well Weight Loss, and people could enroll into it and they could come into my, let's call it a group, but I had people joining all the time, right? So I had my weekly, I called them wow sessions. So I had my weekly wow sessions. I had 2 in the morning and I had 2 at night. So I had 4 a week that people could join, right? Ongoing, right? And so people wouldn't, they could get started at any time and they could pick their, coaching session. I didn't call it coaching at the time because I didn't know what that was, but it's a coaching session, right? It's a Q&A, it's office hours, whatever it is, right? And so people would enroll and they would pay the money, and then they would get their materials. It was not online at this time, so I gave them their coil bound binder and all of the good stuff, and they would start, and they would be onboarded, and they would start, and they would come every week, and I would weigh them, and I would answer all their questions based on where they were. And it was like this evergreen ongoing enrollment situation where people were constantly coming in and they were constantly leaving. And I could do that because it was so systematized. It was not a big deal, right? They got their package on the first day that they showed up. I emailed them a bunch of stuff and away we went. Okay. And so that was one fee, right? That was one fee. And so that's how I did it. Okay. Then I had other people, right? So that would be scenario 2. Then I had other people who were like, I don't want that. I want private. I was like, cool. It's 12 weeks. We can do weekly sessions. It's more money, but come on in and I'll roll you through WOW weight loss privately every single week. That's scenario number 1, right? So scenario number 1 is they're still getting access to your online program. They're enrolling in your online program, but the method of care is private. So they're paying more. They're seeing you, every week, every other week, and they're going through the protocol. And then when they show up to see you, you're basically coaching them through the execution. They're asking you questions, you're checking in with them, you're making sure that they actually do it. And so that's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is what I used to have, which is people coming in all the time. Right? I would have these standard set weekly office hours. I called them just community check-ins, right? And they would come, and it's coaching, it's group coaching calls. And so they would come in every single week until their time was done. And if they wanted to renew, they could renew. And I had to just show up and answer questions. It was beautiful, right? And so scenario number 1 is just one-to-one. Scenario number 2 is weekly coaching. Scenario number 3 is where we fuse them together. So for those of you that are licensed and regulated, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to have a preset number of sessions, right? So maybe it's minimum 3. So beginning, middle, and end, right? And they would come in and they would enroll into the program. So you're setting the expectation from the start that it's 12 weeks, right? They're enrolling into this program. And with that, you are also going to get 3 one-to-one sessions and access to our weekly community coaching sessions. You're going to get both, right? And so the fee is going to reflect that. And that's scenario number 3. So if you're licensed and regulated and you have to offer one-to-ones, that's how you do it, right? That's how you do it. And then scenario number 4, this is for those of you who are licensed and regulated and want to offer your program outside of your licensed or regulated province or state. You do it as a full-on self-study, no coaching, no access to you at all. They're just getting access to the content hub, and they're going, because they're being onboarded properly, they're able to now go through it like a self-guided course. There's zero access to you whatsoever. It's like they're buying a book, but it's just on the internet. It's a course. It's an educational course, right? Educational course. And so these are your options. And so when I started to get really, really busy, of course, I was pushing everybody into the weekly community coaching, because that gave me the opportunity to work with, have weekly, calls, check-ins with 12, 15 people at a time, right? And then I had those people who were like, no, I want to see you privately and I'm happy to pay. I'm like, cool. But every single person was following my protocol. So the emails they got, the follow-up they the check-in emails, everything was the same, because every single person that came in was a menopausal woman who just wanted to lose weight. And so they were all able to follow my program. So it wasn't like I was having to run over here and create a protocol over here and then run over there and create a protocol over there. No, I had my protocol. I could adjust as needed, but it was so streamlined that it was easy. right? It was easy for me to grow it, right? It was easy for me to grow it. And so Jordana's asking a really good question. What if I'm providing a program outside of my designated profession? I'm a chiro and I want to offer a weight loss program and I want it to be separate from my chiro practice. So number one, and I'm not a lawyer and I'm not obviously head of your regulated body. So whatever I'm about to say to you is, from my own experience, your license will prevail. So if your license prohibits you from providing nutrition advice, your license will prevail unless you drop your license. Even if, so the way around that is you have to go get some additional certification that allows you to talk about and give recommendations around whatever it is that you want to do. Otherwise, if you don't have that, the scope of your license prevails. I am allowed to provide nutritional recommendations. Fab. Then go and do that. 2 separate businesses. That's how you do it. 2 separate businesses. Amazing. So let me continue on because I can see all the questions. So these are the scenarios. So I want you to picture in your head when somebody comes to you and they're like, can you help me with such and such? And you're going to say, yes, I have a program called Weight Loss Connections. And they're like, amazing. And then you go through your consult and you're like, you know what? You have a lot of contraindications. It would be better if I gave you the VIP package, which includes some one-to-one care and also weekly sessions because of your pre-diabetic state, because of blah, 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 blah. How does that sound to you? And they're like, that sounds great, right? And so now you have the flexibility to be able to offer what the client or patient needs and do it in a way that is automated and systematized because you have that baseline program created. That's the fusion method, because you can literally fuse in any of these different scenarios without having to recreate the wheel. You don't have to come up with new stuff. You don't have to make stuff up on the fly. And you get to grow your business, right? You get to grow your practice and put all of these people who all have the same problem in a community with each other so that they can then benefit from accountability and support, and it's all baked into the fee. So you're not resentful anymore and they're actually getting results. You're not working around the clock and you can show up as your best self. You can show up as your best self. And so these are just a little bit more details in terms of the scenarios, right? The scenario. So for those of you who don't have experience, because I just saw a question, hold on. Who was asking it? Somebody asked how long you have to work with one-to-ones. Hold on. Somebody asked if you have how long you have to work. Oh, here, Kiara, I think is how I say your name. How long do you work one-to-one to develop your signature program to know what worked for your clients? So you don't even have to, because you have that knowledge of following a protocol. So one of the things, and this is a side note, but I'm going to say it anyway, is we teach how to beta test something. Like how to beta test your program to know. So even if you want to put together an online program and you don't have any experience, that's okay. You can still put together a protocol and test it. And so scenario number one, again, it's very easy to do. You're getting people to enroll into your online program. You're setting the expectation that it is X weeks in advance. Right? So they're not just like, oh, it's 60 minutes of time, right? They're enrolling into this. They want to do this. And so in the onboarding, you're explaining to them how the sessions work, that they need to go and they need to consume the content prior. They need to do the things you're telling them to do. And then they need to bring their challenges to the calls. So you're not having to repeat what gluten is 100 times. You're not having to educate them. You should never have to do that. That should all be recorded, because it's boring and it's repetitive, and that's, not a good use of your expertise, right? You can do it one time and record it, and then it's in there, and then they can go and listen to how to read a food label, or how much water to drink, or whatever, what fiber is, or how to breathe, or whatever it is that you do with them, right? And so it's all in the content hub inside of Practice Better. And so you can monitor and track them through Better, and you can say, okay, we only have 2 weeks left, and you can choreograph this beautiful experience for them. And everybody has the same experience. You standardize it. And so the only thing that changes is the support options. And so scenario number 2, no one-on-one, just weekly community coaching. Eventually you can hire a coach to do this for you. You're not even going to need to do it yourself, right? You can just stick to the one-on-ones and the really hard cases if that's something you want to do. They're available in a group, right? And it's added value, because when you put people who are all suffering with the same issues together, they've never had anybody else say, me too. It is so, so powerful, so powerful. And so when they're enrolling into your program, you're saying, absolutely, you're going to come in and you're going to get access to me every single week. And it's Q&A. You can ask your questions, and I will do my very best to answer them. Obviously, you're not providing personalized recommendations. What you're doing in these sessions is you're basically just referring them back to the content. You're saying, you know what, that's a really valid challenge. Why don't we try what I recommended in module 2? Most people don't consume the content, right? Most people don't read. They don't listen to things all the way through. And so you're there just sort of referring back. Now, if it happens that there's, a situation where they need more care, then that's when you can say, you know what, I'm not equipped to answer this right now. However, there is an option for you to upgrade, and let's add on some one-to-one sessions. And so again, you get to act in integrity, right? You don't have to bend over backwards. You don't have to be reactive. You don't have to go outside of your scope. You can do it in this very professional, very systematic way. And it benefits everyone. You don't have to break boundaries, right? And it benefits everyone. And so that's scenario number 2. Scenario number 3, fusing it all together, right? Fusing it together. And so this is where those of you that are licensed and regulated, this is where you're going to sit, and you're going to bring them in. And they're going to have a set number of one-to-ones with you, whether it's virtual or in person, or a combination of both. And they're going to get access to the weekly coaching so that they can, be inside of the community if they so choose. And that way you're able to really personalize it, and you're able to feel like you are heavily supporting them in this high touch environment. And they're having a phenomenal experience, because for the first time ever, they're actually being supported. They're actually being supported, which is huge. Everybody needs accountability. Everybody needs support, and you're being compensated. And all the questions and whatnot are in the group. And the members who've been in there for a while are helping the newbies. And you're like, wow, I don't even need to do much. I don't even need to do much. This is great. This is amazing. And then scenario number 4, again, for those of you that are licensed and regulated, this is how you help people outside of your state or your province. And I saw somebody say, how do we know? Because when they're booking a consult with you to initially talk about the potential of you helping them, you're going to, in the consult form that they're filling out, you're going to ask them where they live, right? And then that way you have a screening process in place. And so for people that live outside of your, regulated area, this is how you help them. Now, the practitioners and coaches that I work with, we don't start with this. This is something that they add on after they've gotten everything established, and it's another revenue stream for them. So they work very much with people inside of their state or inside of their province. And then once they've got that down, now they go outside, right? And so it's sort of like a 2-step process, because the operation of care is a little bit different. And so we have to think about it, It's two streams, right? It's basically two different, it's the same program, but two revenue streams. Does that make sense? Type yes in the chat if that makes sense, right? I just want to make sure that you're tracking with me. That makes sense. Okay, fab, amazing. And so that's the fusion method. And that's what we teach. And that's how you're able to do what you want to do in the exact way that you want to do it without it sucking the life out of you, which I think is great. Which I think is great. This is Donna Kay, and I love sharing her success story because her business has blown up. And she works with families who have ADHD. And she said, I'm having a total freak out. It's the 21st of the month and we have a week to go. And I've already done $18,000. And she came with nothing. She had no program. She had no list. She had nothing. And she created her program to help parents who have a child with ADHD. She launched it and was immediately putting people in. Right. And so ever since, she's grown it, and now she offers supplements, and now she has, as you grow, you get to add things on to expand the practice. And it's amazing. And so the way that you're able to do that is because you originally started with an area of specialization. These are some of my other clients as well. I'll just read you because I want to be cognizant of time. I'm going to read you Missy's. Missy works with people who have a thyroid situation and wants to lose weight. And I love Missy's story because she says, we didn't make any of our numbers this month, but I spent half the month living in the hospital. I only worked 1 to 2 hours a day. My husband is still alive. He was going through, I think, his 4th round of chemo. She had a 2-year-old. She says, my husband is still alive. And so I'm pretty happy with the $23,000 I slid in with. I just want that to sink in for a minute. She was able to do that because her business was mostly automated and she showed up to coach. $23,000 helping women with their thyroid, working 1 to 2 hours a week, and still being able to, support her husband. Like, that is a very big deal. And you can only do that when you work online in this way. And so I'm just going to give you some examples too of the practitioners who are selling the self-study, because often the self-study is sold at a lesser fee as well. So this is Dr. Kelsey Duncan, 7 low barrier sales. This is Louise. She says, I did my first ever paid workshop, 2 sales this week so far. So again, there's options for you once you have all of this in place. This is Alicia. She's a dietitian. She said, I sold 12 and hoping for 8 more by the end of the day. That's for her self-study. So she did the work one time to create the online program, and now she's selling it over and over again. There's no coaching. There's no coaching involved because she's a dietitian and she couldn't work with these people outside of her state. Right? And so there's all of these options that you have because flexibility and freedom is possible. And so you need the systems that allow you to specialize. You need to have an area of specialization so that you can demonstrate that you can help people. And that allows you to provide a feeling of in-person trust. We have to mimic that because they're not sitting across from you. You're a stranger on the internet and so are they. And so we have to mimic that in-person trust. And the only way to mimic that trust is by speaking to them about what's really going on and validating their experience. Doing the work upfront gives you that flexibility. It gives you that time freedom. And it gives you scalable systems that allow for growth without you having to add more client hours. And it's really fulfilling because you now have space. You have bandwidth, right? You're not resentful. You're not annoyed. You're not bored, right? And you can see the potential of what you're creating to, make you as wealthy as you desire to be. And I know sometimes in the alternative health and coaching space, that is a dirty word, but it is not a dirty word because you are transforming lives. and you deserve that flexibility and the freedom and the finances to live your very best life. And so now we've come to this place where it's like, okay, you have a choice. I know this is all new information to you. I understand. It was to me too. And I know you have a lot of questions. So you can continue down this path, doing the same old thing, the same old thing, the same old thing, and getting that same results. Or you can say, you know what? Absolutely. It's 2023. This is available to me. This is what I want to do. And I want to use Practice Better to do it. Britt, was there any repetitive questions maybe that I'm scrolling back through the questions, but I'm just wondering if there was any specific wanted me to go through.
A lot of questions pertaining to location and how to market a program if they are regulated or licensed and they have to work within a certain jurisdiction. So how can they have a program and not worry about people outside of their, their area enrolling, and how to manage that?
Yes, absolutely. So there's two ways that we teach that. Number one, if you are going to run Facebook ads, which you absolutely can, as a licensed and regulated professional, you absolutely can. You can target to zip codes or postal codes, so that your ads will be seen by people in your, geographic region. And then what you can do when you are booking the consult with them to talk about becoming a client, you use filters in your forms. So you can filter by location. So you will know when they get on a call with you if they are in your geographic area or not. And then that way you can just provide them with some value if they're not in your area, or you can sell them scenario 4 if you wanted, right? You can sell them self-guided, or you can enroll them into scenario, 1, 2, or 3. And so it's a really simple fix. It's literally just a field on a form, address. It's really that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of features within Practice Better, like forms that you can have an application form. Where you can get that upfront information regarding their location and say yes or unfortunately no to them, and figure out a plan or a referral for these people. So definitely possible. Lots of questions too about whether you recommend having everyone run through the program curriculum at the same time or more evergreen, how to stagger starts, things of that nature.
Yep, that's a really good question. So first of all, let me say this, there's no right way to do it. I'll say the way that I like, and I'll explain why I like it. So if you were to run a group, meaning a cohort, meaning people are gonna, you're gonna have sort of like a launch scenario, and you're gonna enroll people and they're all gonna start on the same day, right? We can call that a cohort. Let's call that a cohort, right? You have a cohort in September, you have a cohort in December, you have a cohort in March and, May, right? And you have 15 people, 12 people, and they all start on the same day and they all end at the same day. I don't like that because I like making money every day. And I like clients being able to enroll every day. I don't like I don't like relying on 2 or 3 or 4 launches a year, because what if one of them goes bust, right? What if you don't hit your goals one time and then you didn't make any money for that period of time? So for me, I like having people enroll all the time. I like the consistency of it. I like knowing that I can enroll, 3, 5, 7 people a month. And that even though they're all starting at different times, it's staggered. The system that they run through is the same. So it's standardized. And so even when they come to like the one-on-ones or the weekly calls, you might have somebody who's, on module 3, you might have somebody who's on module 7. That's fine. It's not a problem, right? It's not a problem at all. And in fact, they love it. They love hearing what's coming up, or the ones who are further along love supporting the people behind them, love. So there's no right or wrong. It's just your preference. And you can do both at the same time if you have the bandwidth too.
Yeah, it's really easy to take one piece of content that you've built out in Practice Better and actually duplicate it into other styles. So we have 3 styles. We have fixed 8. So if you wanted to give that a go, we also have evergreen and self-paced. So you could kind of, do a split test and see which one resonates best with you, your business, which one is generating you more income and actually landing with clients.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to not have to start from scratch every single time with all 3 of those programs. And we have a ton of different resources and content available to run you through exactly, what those 3 styles are and how to work with them on our YouTube. And we're always running live events, so you can always kind of keep an eye out for those. But everything that Lori's gone over, all 4 different methods, you can use in Practice Better. Yeah.
And we have inside of the program that we offer, it's called Zero to Clients. We have modules that train you on how to use Practice Better in that way. Because for the licensed and regulated folks, you have a lot of things that you have to abide by, that Practice Better makes it really, really easy to do exactly what I explained to you inside of their program. And that's why we recommend it. Like, we have actual modules inside of our program that walk you through the billing and the invoicing and how to do it in this way so that it makes it really, really simple for you. Somebody asked, hold on, I want to get to, I think it was Marion. Licensed social worker should we only do number 4, which is self-guided, if we have a private practice on the side? Can we still do number 3 with coaching 1-to-1 and have a separate private practice? 100%. So if you have a private practice, I want you to think about your online as a separate business, because it's a separate entity, right? And so you can even take, which I think is beautiful, you can take your clients from your private practice and put them into your online community if they are your purple duck, if they are your ideal client, because then they get to mix and mingle with your community, which is so powerful for them. And you can have an online business. So you can have, let's say, and a lot of our clients do that. A lot of practitioners and coaches have a hybrid where they have their clinical practice for, 15 hours a week. And then they have their online where they're enrolling, 3 or 5 clients online, and they're working that way. And then they can add on the self-guided on top of that. So I don't want you to limit yourself. I think the key takeaway here is, when you have the strategy that I just taught you and a platform like Better, there's a lot of possibility. And sometimes that freaks people out, where they're like, well, I could do this and I could do that. And then you end up doing nothing. So what I would say, if this is a goal of yours to have these systems in place, number 1, go book that call, because what we'll do is we will actually outline for you the steps to take so that you don't get overwhelmed. And then you can just decide when you're going to take that. Because that way you're not like, well, do I start here or do I start there? Do I start with an email list? Do I start with the program? Do I start with the thing? And because there's so much opportunity, we kind of get squirrely with it. So go and book that call. And then that way you have sort of this nice business plan that you can follow, and sort of work on one step at a time, depending again on what you already have. So the plan's going to look different. A lot of you said you already had an online program. Amazing. So let's go and get the automation set up. Let's go and get the onboarding set up. Let's go and get the follow, let's go and get these systems set up so that you can offer scenarios 1 through 4. Right? Because that's what you need to do. So, okay, perfect. Anything else before we wrap up?
You know what? I don't see it too much more. I know a lot of people are asking about where they can learn to build out programs in Practice Better. And I'll just reiterate that we've got so much content about this. So I'll be sure that we include something in the replay email to direct you on exactly where you can go to get more information about how you can take all of Lori's advice and focus on how you can kind of build that out in Practice Better. So thank you, Lori, so much for your time and expertise today. It was so valuable. And yeah, I hope everyone booked their call and Look out for the replay in your email inbox later on today.
Thank you, everybody. This was great. I hope it was helpful for you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.